You're listening to the Maven Approach podcast, the show where we interview passive real estate investors from every walk of life who share their experiences in passive real estate investing while still working their full-time job. If you're someone who's wanting to start or grow your own cash flowing portfolio while continuing to do what you love, you're in the right place. Here's your host, Chad Fowers.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode with AJ Rounds. AJ, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the Maven Approach podcast. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. Love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we're really excited to dive into it and learn a little bit more about what you've got going on. And so really appreciate your time. So tell us a little bit about yourself, AJ. I know that we met on LinkedIn about a week ago, and I've looked at your website, talked to you a little bit about what you've got going on, but tell us, what is it that you do, and what do you have going on right now?
Well, gosh, that's always the question of the day, right? What do you have going on right now? And I cannot relate with people that respond to me saying, I don't know. I'm looking for the next thing. I just don't have a lot going on. I'm kind of bored. I'm like, who are you? Does that even exist? I mean, I run 3 calendars, right? So I can't relate to that. But let's talk about the important stuff first. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I own a dog, right? Which is very important to me.
There you go.
For fun, I drive a limousine on the side. We have a little limo business and have had it for about 10 years. My wife hates it. She thinks it's very ostentatious and ridiculous, but we have a good time just giving back to the community. We drive for weddings and proms and dances and retirements and just friends and neighbors and go to the jazz games, and it's just a good time. So big old fat 14 passenger black SUV limo. So if you get on the freeway, then it may or may not be us.
So tell me, wait, where do you park that?
Well, that's probably part of the story. Is we built a garage next to our house just for that purpose. And to finance it, we decided to put a guest house, an apartment above it, and that pays for everything and more. It's fantastic.
Holy cow.
In fact, that's how we jumped into the real estate game, was that venture right there.
Holy cow. Okay. So that was your kickoff to the real estate investing world.
That was it. Almost kind of by accident. My neighbor said, hey, you've got, we live on a little bit of acreage. And he said, you might as well just build something and rent it out. And I didn't really know what that could look like, because I was, just picturing some sort of, an additional, you've seen all the houses that have this huge, crazy menagerie on top of their garages, and it just looks so funky and just weird. Like, I do not want that. So we built a nice little, just a double car garage next to our house, a standalone, and made it match our house perfectly. And then the apartment, it's just about 1,000 square feet, 2 bed, 2 bath, and a laundry room is above the garage. And it's really nice. We went granite and made it super cool. And we've got a waiting list for years in advance for people that want to live there. But that's how we got started, and almost by accident. And it's been the greatest thing we've done thus far. My wife loves it. And now that prices are so crazy here in Utah, when our kids get to that age, they're not gonna be able to afford a house. So then we've got a house for them where they don't have to live in our actual house. So it's been kind of cool. Immediately following, within the next, I don't remember, I think it was 9 to 12 months, I said, hey, we need to do more. We need to get more doors and get more involved in real estate and really play that game well. And so we didn't buy a duplex or even a fourplex. We bought 2 fourplexes at one time. that was a little much. Wouldn't recommend that. But we didn't buy them here in Utah County. It's just too expensive here along the Wasatch Front. I don't know if your listenership is listening from, but if anyone knows the Wasatch Front, I mean, prices here are, we talked about this in the beginning, they are just incredibly out of control right now. It's unreal. So we thought, okay, let's not buy here. I don't want to pay top dollar, because that really hurts your cash flow later on, right? I want to buy low, and in exchange, I know that rents will probably be lower, and also your equity won't grow as fast. But that was the exchange we decided to make. So we bought 2 fourplexes out in Roosevelt, Utah, in eastern Utah.
Okay.
They needed a little bit of work. They hadn't been really well maintained for the past 2 decades, probably, but that's why we got them for such a good deal. We won't really talk numbers here, but unless you want me to, but did pretty well on it. Put some money into refurbishing it and fixing it. Got everything full because it was only about half full at the time. And again, this is 8 units. And it was 2 buildings they face each other and they share a parking lot. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
And this was a learning that I quickly had to learn, is that cities do really funky things when they see that new investors are coming into town, especially small cities, right?
Yeah.
So they required me, along with our financing partner, Mountain America, which, by the way, Mountain America, I can't say enough good about them. I love that credit union, right?
Cool.
And here's the reason why, is because everywhere else we talked to, they wanted 15 to 25% down, depending on who you talk to. Mountain America was at 10%. So we're like,
Really?
we're absolutely using them. Yes. And they still have, well, and here, let me give you some more insight about that. So they're at 10%. They were at 10% then. They discontinued for a while. Cypress Credit Union picked it up because they dropped it. So they started pulling all the Mountain America clientele over to Cypress. And the Mountain America says, this is killing us. So they now have a 10% program again as well. I don't know how long it'll last, but both Cypress Credit Union and Mountain America, if you need financing for cheap, go to either one of those credit unions.
Is that for commercial only, or what is that?
Well, I've only looked at it for commercial only. Yeah. It could be for some other things as well. I mean, if you're going to buy a personal property that you live in, then you can get a conventional.
Right. Yeah, that's totally different.
But for investment sake, that was awesome. So we bought those 8. The city decided, hey, you need to separate those parcels in case you decide to sell one or the other. So we did. They charged $35,000 at the closing, which was so exciting to hear that news, because we had to separate the parcels, and they wanted to make the sewer system separate to each unit.
Right.
Okay, whatever. We had to get it closed. So we just went to a really good, because we had put all of our money into the down payment and getting things closed. And so we just didn't have the extra funding to pay that $35,000. So I had a really good friend who said, hey, I'll loan you the money. Let's make this happen. Just pay me, a percentage of interest and then pay me off in a year. So that's what we did. So bought those properties, got them going. We realized, and I wouldn't have bought them had we not had, in the process of doing that, my realtor, he was awesome. Dwayne Richens, he's shout out to him. He has some family that live in Roosevelt, a sister, in fact, and she's actually our on-site manager there. We wouldn't have done it otherwise, because you really got to have eyes and ears at the property. Otherwise, It's not a good idea, because it's 2 hours away one way. So you can't do that long distance that way. So she signed contracts with her, closed on the property, and we worked on getting it refurbished, and she was fantastic. And we got it filled and good to go, right? So we're off to the races. So then we have 9 doors.
Are you looking to grow your net worth through a cash-flowing real estate portfolio, but lack the time or know-how to get started? Maven Capital Group is your solution. We're partnering today with passive investors to grow their wealth through multifamily real estate. If you're interested in learning more about us and our process, head on over to mavencapitalgroup.co/free training. That's mavencapitalgroup.co/free training.
So then last year, because of what I told you with Cypress, we thought, okay, let's do this again. So we found a duplex, and there's a whole story along with that. But anyway, it worked out. We purchased it. I feel like I haven't gone through one transaction that's been smooth, right? They've all been rocky, and at the last minute they were going to fall apart, and then they just worked, right? Because we were very persistent. So we bought a duplex. It was even earlier this year or late last year. I can't quite remember. And so we built our portfolio up to 11 doors. We don't have that many. We're just small, so I'm not one of these big time real estate investors. I just want to make that clear, but I'm having fun, and I'm willing to grow and learn and do it more. Right. So we bought that. We thought, okay, the good thing about COVID is that we have luckily been full with our units completely 100%, all during COVID and before. And I didn't know if that would be the case. So we've been really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been kind of a blessing actually. And we bumped up the rents a little bit, finalized, got better leases in place because it had been, both of them been very poorly run.
Yeah.
So bumped up the rents, did some fix-its, made the people proud of where they live. Not too crazy because you can't spend a lot of money on those things or you won't ever make it back, but enough to make them nice and livable.
Right.
Yards and fence fixes and some paint and carpet and things like that. And then, and just a side note about that, we have learned that you don't do carpet and rentals, you just do vinyl flooring, that really nice, really durable vinyl flooring so that it just lasts forever and it looks really good. And then you're not replacing it all the time.
Yeah. You'd have to replace carpet every year, probably.
Yeah, carpet is tough because tenants unfortunately just don't treat it well. And you make sure that you get your deposits, right? So that you can pay for those things when they move out. And then just recently, we got a really good friend who has come to us and said, "Hey, I've got an investment opportunity for you down in South Payson." I won't say too much about that, but they're building a large complex, a couple 100-unit complexes and multiple fourplexes and duplexes that's going in. The front runner is going to take their stops down to Payson.
Yep.
That's where they'll end. And so this is where this complex is going. So we invested in that just earlier this year as well. So that was our foray into real estate. Earlier, I went to school at Utah State. So sorry you went to Weber, but it's really Utah State.
Yeah. I should have done better in high school so that I could have gotten into Utah State.
So my undergrad and my graduate degree there, had a blast, did some student government things. During college, I did summer cells, pest control, and some living scriptures type things, which was super hard, but taught me a lot of things that I know about cells to this day. And actually turned into a very lucrative career for me later on.
Wow. So you did the whole summer cells thing. How many years did you do that after
I did it for about 8. I just started as a door-to-door sales rep and then worked up into management. And then I became the company recruiter, company trainer. And then I was eventually one of the executive VPs. And it was just kind of accidental. I just had a knack for it. I didn't love it, but I had a knack for it and the money was great. And so we thought, hey, let's just keep doing this. I didn't get married till I was nearing, grad school. So I had to save up quite a bit of money before then. And then we moved down to, I'm from Logan. I'm just a simple country farm kid from Logan, Utah, at least, the surrounding area. It's actually called but love the Cache Valley area. But we moved down to Utah County. Never in a million years would have thought that I would have landed here in Utah County. But here we are, and we actually really love it. So I continued to do summer cells at that point. Had some, did a couple things with a couple different companies. My family, they still own multiple insurance agencies in the northern part of Utah, southern part of Idaho. So I helped them build a Spanish division in that business while I was finishing up college. I'm LDS Latter-day Saint, AKA Mormons. And so I served a mission in Venezuela.
Okay, cool.
And so I learned a couple words in Spanish, not many, but a couple.
Yeah.
And I can string together a sentence if I try and think about it really hard. So I built their Spanish division at their business and finished that off, and it had some good experiences, got licensed and everything, but knew that insurance wasn't really my jam, kind of old school and boring. And it wasn't super exciting. So we did the summer sales thing, and I came down to Utah County, like I've mentioned before. And eventually I left that industry because I was just traveling so much. I was gone 6 days a week. At one point, I think I had 145 free night stays at the Marriott's because I had been traveling so much. Yeah.
Wow.
There's not an airport in this country I don't think I've seen. So that was enough. My wife called one day and said, okay, it's either me or it's the company. So you decide. So I got on a plane that day and came home and never went back. And then shortly thereafter, I went into the infomercial world for a while, helped grow a company. I was the campaign manager for a local company here that shoots and produces infomercials, and I managed their campaigns to make sure that they were getting enough website hits and enough business and selling enough product to keep them profitable. Very fascinating industry, lots of cash, very fast. You've got to really be on it because you're spending potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars a week on media time. Right?
Yeah.
So really fun. Then I went to another company that we did online food storage and shelving. I don't know if you're familiar with Shelf Reliance. Fantastic company. Love working with them. Helped get them into multi-level marketing or direct marketing. And they did home parties, and that took their company. I won't give out numbers, but it doubled, tripled, quadrupled the size of their company in future years. So that was kind of to get them started on that path. Then we decided to move down to Vegas and start a lighting franchise, an LED lighting franchise, because at the time, this was end of 2009 or so, which we all know what happened then. So terrible time to start a business, but me and my naivete decided I can do this. So we decided to build a lighting franchise down in Vegas, and we service some of the casinos. It was a great, the City of Lights, a great place to start. We made a couple of really critical mistakes. And those are things that I think sometimes we learn more from our mistakes than we do from the things we do well, because we never do those things again, right?
Right.
And we learned some hard things, my business partner and I, mainly just distribution channels, making sure that we were utilizing the right business model, which we weren't. And then we honestly did not have the connections we needed in that city to make a go of it. So we eventually sold out. I did my stint in higher education. I was a marketing director and kind of an adjunct professor, if you will, at Dixie State University, or whatever they're calling themselves now. They keep changing their name constantly. I don't even know.
I agree. I know what you're saying.
They can't figure it out. And I hope they do, but it's a great university, and they're doing some great things. So was there for a brief time, a couple of years. We wanted to spend some time in St. George. Thought we would stay there forever, but we realized that unless you're a big developer or in healthcare or in tourism, there's not a lot that's offered in St. George, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
We made the decision to move back north, go up north again, and come back to St. George when we can buy a second home, and we're planning on doing that here very soon. One of my good friends from when we had lived in Utah County previously, he had started a company in the oil and gas industry doing housing, of all things, but huge modular housing complexes, right? So they called them man camps at the time. And this is when oil was really, really big. So he had been recruiting me for years to come work with him, and I'd said, no, I'm doing these other things. And finally I said, let's do this thing, let's make it big. We took that company from a $2 million company to a $23 million company in just a couple of years, got some really big contracts, serviced those contracts. Most of our work was in North Dakota, Nevada, Texas, some of those areas. Yeah, so really fun experience for doing that. And then from there, and I'm just giving you kind of a chronological order of what I've done.
No, that's great. I love it.
In my mind, right?
I love it.
And so I've managed sales and marketing teams in all these different entities. And then from there, we started, I went to, with a really good friend, we worked in a nonprofit for a minute just to kind of give back and build responsibility in kids across the nation through curriculum and things of that nature. And while we were doing that, we built the company that I'm now currently running and own with a few co-owners called Rev Road. I don't know if you can see. Fridays are swag days. So
yes, I wanted to talk about that.
So Rev Road is it's just the most fun thing I've ever done. I mean, it's just a fantastic company. So we are a nice blend between an accelerator, an agency, and a venture capital firm. Okay, so what we do is we Well, me and a couple of the co-founders here, we decided, hey, there's a big problem in the market where a lot of new companies start, and tech companies, product companies, service companies, you name it. And just because of lack of information or understanding, they fail, or they take money from those in the community, and they don't use that money wisely to where they need more money, and pretty soon they wake up one day and they don't own their company anymore, and it happens a lot. So we decided, let's change that trajectory and let's build RevRoad, which brings in companies to help them grow. And instead of exchanging instead of exchanging cash for equity, we're exchanging services for equity. So we have a staff here of about 50 people, all experts and professionals in their own right. We've got a legal team, an accounting team, sales team, HR team, marketing team, video team. We've got a group of coders, developers that can build product, and we grow their company with them shoulder to shoulder for a period of about 2 years to help them get going. And then if they need capital within that time frame, we have an investor network that we go out and raise capital, typically a seed round or a Series A, anywhere from 500,000 to 2 million is kind of our sweet spot. Yeah. And we help them grow so that when they do go raise big money, Series B, Series C, whatever the case may be, then they have much higher revenues, a J curve, if you will, and they can get a better, more money for a better valuation, essentially, and give away less of their company.
And do you own the company?
RevRoad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of the 6 co-founders. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 6 co-founders. Yeah. Awesome. And you do a little bit of property management as well, is that correct?
Yeah, so we also own, about 4 years ago, in my, moments of, hey, I need to get involved in real estate. Because of my experiences growing up, I did have some experience with property management. So we purchased a franchise about 4 years ago called Key Renter Provo, and purchased the rights to all of Utah County so that we manage about 100 doors right now. We've got 2 full-time people and a part-time person, and they help us run that company. And we're focused mainly on single-family properties. We have some multifamily properties, duplexes, fourplexes, triplexes. Most of our owners are out of state. They can't be here, so we manage it for them, and it's growing. Yeah, it's doing well. We've been very careful. We would be probably 3 times bigger, but what we learned in the very beginning is you have to be very careful which owners you bring on. If they're not willing to keep their properties up, and if they're not willing to bring in the highest caliber of tenants, it's not worth working with them, because they're going to be unhappy. The tenants will be unhappy. We'll be unhappy. I don't want to be unhappy, right? So we're very careful who we bring in, and we screen our owners very carefully. So
I think that's really interesting, because I think a lot of the problem in Utah is that there's a lack of inventory. And so really it seems like we need to push towards higher density communities. But as a whole, specifically in Utah, I feel like there's a bad rap for high density communities, right? And like you said, I don't know if that falls on the owner or if that falls on the property management in the past, but I feel like there's this really fine line that you have to walk when you want to create a high quality community that's still affordable. And I think that all starts with the property management and how that all works.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of property managers say this, but they don't really mean it. But we mean it when we say we try to manage our properties as if they were our own, because we know that as a property owner, that you want it's one of your biggest investments, right? So you want it to look good, and you want it to be rentable, and you want it to, you want to put as little money into it as you need, as possible, but put money where it's needed so that it stays, marketable and just very nice, right?
Yeah, I think that's the future of where Utah needs to head. Obviously there's a lot of other states, a lot of other cities that have adopted a higher density mindset per se, and I think that Utah's slowly getting there. But yeah, the fact that I think if you can create a strong property management product that really focuses on the quality of the people that are coming in and the type of property that you're owning, that really goes a long way.
The reason we got into property management is because we want to do a good job with property management, right? And it's a great cash flow business, right? But really where the opportunity comes is as owners, especially older ones, they decide to move on, right? Oftentimes, and not so much in this market because it's so high, but oftentimes they don't want to go through the rigmarole and the process of listing their property, showing the property, going through all the paperwork to get the property sold. So they typically, more times than not, they'll go to their property manager first and say, hey, do you want the property at a wholesale rate? Would you like a deal on the property if we just let you guys have it? So our goal was to be in property management for that reason, so that when those instances happen, we can capitalize on that taking place.
Interesting. I think that makes sense. It's all about a relationship, right?
Right.
A relationship. Real estate is just a big relationship game. And I think that property managers, if it's done right, if the property manager is a good property manager, they're already a trusted advisor or contact that gets that first go at the property if they don't want to keep owning it. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What does the next 5 years look like for you and your companies?
Yeah, good question. Next 5 years, man, I wish I had a crystal ball right now. Wouldn't that be great? So I could see exactly what's going to happen. Right now, we currently have with Rev Road, we have about 45 companies under management, all in different sectors, right? And they're all at different levels of growth, from $1 million company valuation up to 125 million. So there's a lot to do with that. We have our certain path to success with what we want to do with Rev Road, which includes raising a large venture fund, which we're in the middle of doing right now, a $50 million fund. If anyone wants to invest in, companies in their infantile stages and have a diversified portfolio, that's an option for you. You need to be an accredited investor and that sort of thing, but willing to look at that with you. And then step 3 in our path for success here at Rev Road is to franchise Rev Road, and we've got a couple of different investor groups that would like to franchise, potentially in Phoenix and a few other hotspots of entrepreneurship here in the nation. We're lucky in Utah because it is such a hotbed of Silicon Slopes, right? Tech and product, and there's a lot of great things happening in Utah right now. That it's a great time to be in the venture world and the entrepreneur community. So we have lots of plans to grow Rev Road and to continue that. We also have plans to grow Key Renter and potentially buy some additional franchises if we can grow it to a certain point. Personally, I'm actually running for city council right now, so there will be a little bit of government involved in my near future. Hopefully, if it works out, we'll see.
That's awesome.
For one of the small cities down here in Utah County. And then, my wife and I, of course, would love to continue to build our own real estate portfolio. And the challenge is, of course, finding the right deals at the right time. But my philosophy is if you continue to just keep your eyes open and build relationships, like what you said earlier, and just look for opportunities, I think that they, karma eventually plays in your favor and things, they come across your desk. And it ends up working out.
Yeah, that patience factor is a big deal.
Yeah,
I think that in this day and age, it's hard. It's hard to be patient. Everyone seems to be moving a lot faster than you, and you just get impatient and you make bad deals, and then it costs you a lot of years to fix those deals, right?
Yeah. Do not be afraid to walk away if it's not a good thing, and we've done that several.
I love the quote by Tony Robbins. I don't know it exactly, but he says, most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years, right? It's like, we all have this goal of like, hey, I want to be a Fortune 500 company next year. And it's like, well, maybe that's not possible, but in 10 years, if you keep your eyes open, like you said, there's opportunities that come along that you can take advantage of if you position yourself right and build those relationships that are actually quality relationships, right? There's so many high level, we can call them shallow relationships, but just really connecting and diving deep into to people is kind of an art that's been lost. And I feel like that's something that can go a long way in today's business world. So
yeah, well said. And I looked at your website earlier. I really like what you guys are doing, where it's syndicated real estate. I think that's a fantastic concept and idea, so that those that may not have all the resources up front can get in on some larger deals just by becoming part of that, that community, that group that you're putting together. I think that's fantastic.
definitely. Yeah, that's the goal. Is to a lot of people, especially in real estate, I'm sure you've talked to people, but there's just that mental block, that mental barrier to entry, right? It's the real estate costs a lot, and I need 20% down, and I can buy one single family home with what I've got, and that's not going to cash flow, especially here in Utah. But it's like, if you can pool your money with other investors and buy something that's larger, then the numbers are different, right? The numbers might make sense, and that's the philosophy that we see, and that coincides with good property management as well. Because again, we want to create high quality housing at an affordable price, and obviously there's some give and take there, but to have good property management builds stronger communities, builds stronger opportunities where people can live, and so
That's right.
Yeah.
Really, and once you've done one, it's easier to do more, right? It's so scary to do that first one, but if you think about it, I mean, and be realistic, even if things don't go quite as well as you thought, or you spend a little bit more than you thought, at the end of the day, it's not like a stock, or it's not like a 401k, or it's not like a even an investment in a in a startup. You actually have a deed behind those dollars, so that worst case scenario happens, it's still going to be valued as something, right?
Right.
And so I just think it's really smart to diversify in real estate, and we talk to a lot of investors here at Rev Road, and the smart ones, even the very large ones that have lots of resources at their fingertips, all have a portfolio of real estate of some kind for that diversification factor.
Right. Yeah. And that's well said. I mean, the fact that you can kind of force appreciate an asset through real estate by raising rents, by improving the property, by decreasing expenses. And obviously that's the goal of an operator in any business. But as a real estate owner, as a passive real estate owner, that's really something that can happen pretty easily and really in a timely manner through real estate, I feel like. So
yeah, you just have to be patient. It's not a get rich quick scheme, and there's definitely some headaches along the way, for sure, with tenants and maintenance challenges, and as I talked about with municipality issues and demands that they have, but well worth it, right? And I think that real estate's always a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
You have to be careful of the markets that you're in. Obviously, you don't want to get a market that's going down constantly and that you're losing equity, value of your property. But there's not very many of those markets right now. I'm sure that will change, but not a lot right now.
Yeah. Again, if we had a crystal ball, it would be so convenient, but that's just not the case.
Yeah.
So with your Key Renter Provo, how big of a geographical area do you cover for property management?
So we cover all of central Utah, so Utah County, and then of course we go over to eastern Utah, Vernal, Roosevelt, Duchesne, some of those areas too.
Okay, perfect. So if anyone was interested in using your services or connecting with you on that, that's kind of the geographics that you're focused on right now. Do you plan on expanding that? It sounds like you are with different franchises, but does that just include different areas in Utah, or is that outside of Utah?
Probably, well, it depends, right? I mean, we would like to buy some more franchises in Utah. It gets harder and harder as they get bought up, right? So we'll see what's available, in the next year or two. We would like to diversify into Idaho a little bit. Also, there's some great market deals happening up there, and some great, it's just some great opportunities. But as far as we want to nail it and scale it first, right? So we're nailing it here in Provo and doing a good job building our business, building our systems, building relationships and rapport with our vendors and our owners, and then we'll grow as soon as it's time for the next franchise.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Well, AJ, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I think that the value that you've added has been really, really great for the audience. And just want to say thank you for coming on the show. What's the best way that someone can get a hold of you to discuss either the business development through Rev Road or your Key Renter Provo business?
Probably just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And then you'll hear about Key Renter Provo, and we're a sponsor for Jimmy Rex on his podcast as well.
Okay.
So you'll hear about us there. We're his property management company of choice. And but LinkedIn is probably the best way you can reach out to us here for either Rev Road or for LinkedIn. And if you need a limo hookup, reach out to me.
That's right. That's fantastic. That's great. Well, hey, thanks again, AJ. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.
Okay, Chad, it's been a pleasure.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Maven Approach podcast. If you've benefited from something you've heard on this episode or any of our other episodes, please head on over to iTunes to leave a rating and review for the show. This helps us reach more people like yourself to elevate everyone around us. To learn more about Maven Capital Group and how you can be a part of our online community, follow us over on Instagram to stay up to date on all of our latest opportunities.